Thank you very much. And we're trying to do something interactive here. Now we want to understand where we have been on data science, where we are now, and where we're going to be. In order to do that, the best way to do it is in an audience like this. So what we are doing is try to get data from you and feedback to you again. So we ran an analysis in 2014 about, in a very similar event, about how data back in those days was more like classic analytics, how data is being used in the companies. Then we ran that. It's a series of 10 questions with just 4 answers, very simple answers. Very simple questions and simple answers. Then we ran the same analysis in 2018 in order to see the progress, what has been happening in 2014, what we thought that was going to happen 4 years later. And then in 2018, we did the same exercise. What has been happening? What do you think that we are, where we are? That's perfect. And where do you think we are going to be? Then we run the same analysis now, so 4 years later, so 2014, 2018, and now. And what we want to do is check the progress of what has been happening, your views, and how it has been affected your companies. So if you go to the app, you are going to see a poll of questions. And actually, I'm going to do it simultaneously with my real answers. So when you think about AI back in 2014, it was more like analytics. But if you think about AI, how do you think roughly about AI? Is there anything new? Is it fad? It will disappear? Is it new, but it's not going to change the world? Or it is going to change the world? So if you think about that, 1 is, well, it's nothing. 4 is the most impact on the society and the world. So you can see the responses on the app. And I'm going to show you here what has been the responses in 2014 and 2018. So as you can see in 2014 and 2018, the red ones are 2014, the yellow ones are 2018. We moved from no, there is nothing new, to more is going to change the world gradually. And what you can see on the answers on the app is even growing more on the last part, is going to change the world. So it's kind of consistent with what we have seen in the past, but increasing on the offensive side. So it's going to change the world is kind of the most popular answer. If you move to the second one, is AI changing your specific business? Is your specific bank, your specific company, is it going to change it? So as you can see the answers on the app, previously in 2014 and 2018, there was not a massive shift between 2018 and 14 and 18. The only difference is the 1 went down, so no changes so far. So you can see that in 2018, there were some changes. And the most important one is the part on the increase on the last part. Some changes have been happening, but big changes are going to happen in the future. Now that 26 increased to 64, which means is basically there is an increased trend on the belief on AI in the industry. What will stop from embracing AI? Skills, technology, management decisions, or support, or don't know where to start. As you can see, on the 2014, the problem was the skills. We weren't ready as a market. Well, people weren't upskilled. Analytics, advanced analytics back in those days, it was kind of a new thing. There was not enough training. There was not enough people. There were no degrees. Now there is plenty of machine learning degrees and major universities. Back in those days, you can't study maths and then do a programming master. What is happening now is the top one is not the skills. It's actually nothing to do with the skills. It's more support from the company, which is consistent because you can see 2014, it was 20%, then increased to 34, and now is 57%. So the key gap to embrace AI is support from the board, from EXCO, from senior management, which is actually surprising. Well, it's not surprising because it was increasing, but the skills is actually lower. Skills, there is not enough skills in the market. It's difficult to retain them, to attract them, but the skills, there are in the market. The lack is management support. The fourth is, what is the main risk of not embracing AI? What is going to happen to your company if you don't adopt AI? As you can see, the main response in 2014 was missed opportunities, whereas in 2018, it was the loss of advantage against competitors. So basically, in 2014, if you don't do anything, you're going to miss something that is there, that you can grab it. But in 2018, it was more like, if you don't do anything, everyone else is doing it. You're going to be left out. You're not going to be able to compete against your competitors. Now is actually both of them are the key ones, loss advantages and miss of potential opportunities, which are 50-50. They are the top ones, which makes sense. Now, do not react issues on time or regulatory compliance is not critical, but the competition against your, well, the advantages against your competition is the key thing. And does your organization have AI tools? Well, obviously not. Does Excel count? Yes, we have them, but we don't use them that much. Or yes, we have them and we use them. As you can see, there was kind of a big yes, and we have them and we use them, but it was on the 60%. And this has been increasing, 57%, 60%, now is 64 or 65%, which makes sense. Companies have analytics tools, AI tools, and you know how to use it, but it has been increasing gradually. Number 6, does your organization collect social media data? No, back in 2014, it wasn't a big thing to collect data from social media. It wasn't as big as it is today. No, minor social media analysis. We have done some analysis, but not that much. Or yes, we regularly capture this data and we analyze them. So as you can see, obviously back in 2014 and 18, there wasn't a big thing, as I mentioned before. And now, yes, the last part, the 3 and 4, are increasing exponentially. That's the main reason is because all the competition is doing analysis on social media. You can capture sentiment. You can start to identify customer needs. It gets better connection with the customer. Number 7, how do your customers feel about data issues? They have no interest. They care only about privacy. They are interested on how data is used and how they profile our data, or I have no idea. So what happened in 2014 is they care just about data privacy, mainly, and not that much in 2018. The main reason for that is GDPR. Obviously, GDPR came on board in 2018. That was, no, before, sorry, and 2016. And that hit the market. And, well, companies or people or customers weren't that afraid of data privacy issues because of all the regulations and the fines on big banks or big companies. They were more interested about how this data was used and what they could do with my data rather than the privacy aspects. Right now, they are actually, that number 3 that went from 28 to 37, now is 62, which makes absolute sense. People kind of not forgot, customer didn't forget about privacy, but it wasn't a big thing like back in the 2014 where there were several scandals and the media was on regulations were quite off. That's why that number 2 went down and number 3 went up. Number 8, do you have the data that you need in order to understand your customers? No. Yes, but quality is poor. Yes, we have good data set. Yes, we have very good data set, and we enrich it with external sources. So as you can see, again, increased during the last 4 years towards the last part. There was a 20% on no, which has been reduced. And obviously, yes, there was an increase on the second part. The main reason is because companies started to capture data, but the problem was the quality of the data that they were capturing. Now what we have is exactly the same. The big problem is the number 2. The quality of the data that companies are capturing and are using is not good. And it's not normally the data that they are capturing today. It's the data that they have been capturing during the last 10 years. Obviously, data quality wasn't a big thing back in the 90s, 2000. And if you use it now, you will have those data quality problems. What do you think is the biggest advantage of AI? Greater confidence, faster decisions, richer engagement with customers, regulatory compliance. So what was happening in 2014 is the customer was the critical one. So how to engage with the customer was the biggest one. And that was still the same. The biggest one in 2018, it was the customer engagement, but increased the greater confidence on decisions. Now, that is still the same. Richer engagement with customers, how do you engage with your customers, is the key one. It's 42%, which backs to is consistent with 2014 and 2018. And the last one, where in your business do you believe that AI is going to have the biggest impact? Finance, customer, operations, IT management. So again, no surprises here. The customer part is the one that they had the biggest interest, and operations as well, mainly because of the automation of processes, the manual processes in operations, which is consistent with the results we're having today. But the difference is what has been increasing drastically is the operational part. We have seen that MLOps had a huge impact in the market. You can automate processes in a way that you couldn't have before. That is because of the combination of data engineering, machine learning, and deployment mechanisms. So this is pretty much what we wanted to do. We wanted to do something interactive to get your information and play it back to you and give you an overview of what has been happening during the last 8 years in the market. So thank you very much. I don't want to retain people against lunch. Is lunch now? Perfect. Are there any questions? Thank you very much. Have a good lunch.